Okay, to wind the bobbin on a Singer Quantum Stylus 9960, first you'll want to put your spool of thread on, and when you put your spool of thread on, you want to make sure, like for example on this spool of thread, there's a little notch right here that whenever the thread starts, it's stored up in there. So we want to make sure that little notch where the thread is started at, we want to make sure that notch is facing away from where the thread is being delivered. So that notch is right here. I'm going to put that at the base because what I don't want to happen is when the thread comes off of here, I don't want that thread to get caught on any notches. This should be a nice smooth surface. Also, you want to make sure that you use a spool cap which is larger than the spool that you're using. As you can see, the spool cap's slightly larger than the spool that I'm using. So what that does is that creates a nice smooth surface for the thread to come off of, and there's no snags, no way for it to get tangled or anything like that. You also want to make sure that your spool is pressed, that your thread is coming over here, and your spool is pressed snug up against here, just to prevent that thread from getting caught behind that spool. You don't want any space back there like this, because your thread can get caught behind here and that could cause a snag. So we want it nice and tight up against there, and then we will go ahead and thread the machine for bobbin winding. And everything's numbered here. Whenever you get to this part here, you'll want to go on the rear of it and then put the thread underneath this little hook like that, then come back this way and make sure you go underneath this little tension wheel, otherwise the thread won't have tension and it'll wind on the bobbin very loosely. Then we can just lay the thread right there while we get our bobbin. And this machine uses a class 15 bobbin. And I'm going to take, and in this bobbin there's a little hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this thread, I'm going to take a little loop like this, and I'm going to take this loop, I'm going to twist it. That way it makes it one nice thick piece of thread. I can then take that thick piece of thread and push it through the hole in the top of the bobbin. Then I'm going to take and place that bobbin right on there. Make sure that bobbin is pressed on the winder all the way down, because if you happen to not have it pressed all the way down, bobbin thread can get underneath the bobbin, and we don't want that to happen. So make sure it's pressed all the way down, and then go ahead and press that to the right. You'll still be holding this thread right here, and I'm going to go ahead and start the bobbin winding. Just keep holding that thread, and after a little bit, this thread will just snap off. We'll go ahead and keep winding that bobbin, and it usually takes a little under a minute, and then it will stop automatically when it's full. And it has stopped because it's full. And when you take the bobbin off, just press that over to the left. We'll go ahead and snap this thread here. This bobbin, if you feel it, it should be pretty nice and taut. The thread should be pretty taut, and shouldn't be loose or anything like that. If it's loose, it means you didn't have the thread in that tension disc properly. And so go ahead and make sure it's under that tension disc properly. And that's how you wind a bobbin on the Singer Quantum Stylus 9960.